Welcome to another episode of The Shift with Elena Agar. After years of coaching and mentoring professionals, my mission is simple: to make every moment you spend with me and my guests actionable and empowering. In this episode, I talk with Kenneth Ellington, who is a cybersecurity professional. Not only did he build a career at a very young age and successful career in cybersecurity, but he also launched a business where he's educating others on launching their careers in cybersecurity. So we talked about the challenges in the field, the challenges, the gaps of talent, the opportunities that companies have in developing that talent, and his own journey as an entrepreneur in this field, and just as a young professional trying to navigate this field that is very exciting, but also very challenging and has its ups and downs. And ultimately, how does he balance his full-time with his entrepreneurial journey? So if you're into tech or want to get into cyber, this episode is for you. Ken, welcome to the Shift podcast.
Thank you, Elena, for having me on.
I'm very excited to chat with you because the world of cybersecurity is so trendy these days, particularly in like DC area where I'm at, and it's one of the hardest talents to find. I think like statistically, there's X number of thousands of jobs that are going to be unfilled by this. There's a need for thousands of people to fill these roles, and for some reason, education institutions and even some of the companies are not really preparing for it accordingly. So I'm curious to hear your experience and how you got into cybersecurity and just world of IT.
Sure thing. So initially, I never wanted to be in tech. I won't lie. I thought it was kind of boring. So my father is actually a software engineer. He's been one for the past 27 years or so. He's the one that kind of pushed me to go inside IT with me and my brother. But initially speaking, I didn't want to do it. So what he made us do was he made us do in Code Academy boot camp over like one summer when I was like in middle school. And I did that. I think it was like JavaScript or HTML. I thought it was like the lamest thing ever. So I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, you're basically telling me you type on a keyboard all day long and people pay you thousands of dollars to do that? That doesn't make any sense. It's kind of stupid. I don't want to do that. So when I went to college, I went to community college first. My degree was in BA or business administration. I did that, got my, what is it called? Your AA, right?
Yeah, associate's degree.
Yeah, associate's degree. And then I went to USF, or University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida. So I went there and I still majored in business management. But like during my junior year, I wanted a way to kind of niche down to try to get better job prospects. So I asked my pops, I'm like, Dad, so what should I do? He's like, how about IT? I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And so my mind would start to be like ready for that change. So that's when I started to like pique my interest into IT and cybersecurity. Then I would say from there, I worked at public supermarkets. So if anybody that lives in the South, like Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, that's the place to shop at. I worked in a deli there, so I fried chicken and made sandwiches. And from there, one of the biggest things I tell people and tell my students is make sure people know what your true desires are so they're able to speak on your behalf when you're not inside the room. And that's what I did. I told anybody and everybody that I want to do IT. And so my manager, my store manager at the time, Lori, she came to me. She said, hey, Kenneth, you said you want to do IT, right? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, it just so happens that the director of cybersecurity for Publix is coming towards our store in a couple of weeks. She asked me, do you want to meet him? I'm like, yes, of course. So she set up a meeting between him and me. His name was Rick. So he sat me down in the back office. We talked about different topics, right? My background. He's like, Kenneth, he's like, I love your attitude, and I want you to come work with me. I'm like, oh, great. He's like, well, our internship team's already been filled up for the summer. It was like the summer of 2018, I believe. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you can do all the steps I'm about to give you, step by step, I can almost guarantee you a spot on my internship team next year. And so I did everything that he asked me to. It was like studying for Security Plus, Splunk core user, some fundamental stuff as well. And fast forward 9 months, I interviewed for the job and I get it.
That's amazing. That's very cool. I love it. I'm gonna let you continue in a moment, but I love it that like you were just talking about, and I think that's so powerful. And it's like you don't have to figure things out by yourself. Like if you tell enough people, somebody will think of you and say, hey, like there might be an opportunity here for you. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's literally what I did. It was very surreal. I was
Yeah,
busting my behind for like basically a year to try to get my first job, and I kept getting rejected over and over again. So it's like very mentally draining. And
yeah.
when I got that call, I was in Chick-fil-A. I was so happy. I almost flipped over the table. People started looking at me. I was literally just so excited.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's tough out there, especially for like young graduates, and you know what I mean. It's tough. It's tough for at any age. I think. I mean, at any experience level in career search in general. So it's very dreadful. So it's I can only imagine how happy you must have been at that point. But I mean, you've built pretty successful career since then. So talk to me a little bit about like now. It's funny because you weren't really into IT, but now like you have your own thing in IT. You're an entrepreneur. You worked for big companies and all that stuff. So what changed, I guess, between back then when you're like, Dad, this is boring. What are we doing? To now like being full on with it.
I would say just the realization of what I could do. It's like when it started to click in my head that like the only thing holding me back was myself, and that I can do anything that I want to if I actually just put in the work, right? And once I made that realization, nobody was going to stop me from reaching what I wanted to reach, right? That's kind of how I just have that same mindset over the past probably 5 years. And so it's been hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's not all sunshine and roses. There are days where I'll work like 14 hours or 16 hours, right, to try to get stuff done between my day job and business. But it's all complete rewarding. And another big thing I try to tell people is to have a proper support group around you. That's kind of how I've gotten this far. Um,
Mm.
I like to say I'm just the accumulation of everybody's love and support that's poured into me. That's how I've been able to reach all these high heights over the past couple of years. So finding people that really trust, that really care about you, and that want to see you succeed, regardless if it benefits them or not, is one of the biggest things in this field.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, the way we connected is actually somebody in your network recommended, like,
Yeah, Devin.
you have to talk. Yeah, Devin, like you have to talk to Ken, you know, like you're gonna have a great conversation and etc. So I was like, awesome. So that's a testament to your relationships out there.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. I would say soft skills are very important inside our industry. People think, oh, you need some technical skills, but you need soft skills, right, to communicate with people. If you want to move up, get promoted, you know, start your own business, those are things you have to have.
Yeah. What was it? Were you always kind of you know, having that combination of both soft skills and tech skills? Like, have you always been just like open to it? Because I'm in tech and I see a lot of techies that are just like, Elena, no, I just don't want to. Like they'll tell me, nope, I don't want to. I want to stay behind this computer. I don't even want to turn my camera on, you know, and I'm just curious at what point does one realize like you're gonna hit a ceiling, you know what I'm saying? So it's great that you kind of have that those both. Like was there a moment when you're like, okay, I really need to work on my soft skills, or did it always come natural to you?
I'm a very, very introverted person naturally. So it was very hard for me at first to try to break out my shell. I would say I developed my soft skills when I worked at Publix because I had to. People would yell at you over sandwiches to try to get in fist fights with you. So I was forced to have to deal with a lot of interesting people to say the least. That's really what got me to come outside of my shell for a big portion of it. And from there, I was able to actually work on my technical hard skills, which to me was the easiest part. But that's just like repetition and then just building a framework based off of it. That's probably the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. So cybersecurity is like a huge field, like in terms just you know, tech in general, right? So which part are you like most like what's the part that really excites you? Like what do you enjoy within the world of tech that especially like the what's your business around and stuff like that?
So for me specifically, like endpoint solutions and technology for cybersecurity. So like SIEM and SOAR, and SIEM stands for Security Information Event Monitoring System. Think of Splunk and security. Then you have SOAR as well. That's a security orchestration and automation response platform. So think of incident response handlers. They use that platform. And then like XDR, which is extended detection response. So think of like McAfee or Symantec on your actual laptops or PCs. Those are normally like anti-malware, antivirus, maybe an XDR solution. So like designing solutions around that to help clients and customers is super fun and interesting to me.
Interesting. And so when did you start doing your own business? Like what sparked that idea?
So initially, I never wanted to start my own business. Honestly, it sounded like a terrible idea and a lot of work. So it was kind of my passion for teaching, which I got from my father as well. So we've been in business for about, I think, 17, 18 months now. And I've taught professionally for the past 3.5 years. And people kept telling me, Kenneth, I love that you teach Splunk and security. Can you teach me? I ran classes for free. I'm like, oh, sure thing. And someone once told me, this was like a year and a half ago. They're like, you know what, Kenneth, if you actually charge me for it, I would actually pay you for it. I'm like, oh, really? Um, so I kind of got the spark in my head. And then last May, I decided to actually make the jump to turn into business to see how far I could take it.
Nice. Are you enjoying it?
I am. It is a lot of work. Um, there are days where I'm like, why the hell am I doing all this extra work? But I really do love it. I get to help a lot of cool people out, people that normally wouldn't ever have the opportunity to try to get inside cybersecurity tech. I'm able to help them build that generational wealth for them and their families, which is very important to me.
Yeah. Talk to me more about that. So like how does that close to your heart?
'Cause there's not a lot of people that look like me inside this field, which I learned the hard way.
Mm,
And so there's a lot of issues with that. So I'm trying to bridge that gap as best as I can. So a lot of students we get are like Black and brown students that have been like pushed towards the wayside compared
yeah.
to other programs, or they're not taken care of for other programs or other companies. And so I'm that voice for them. I'm the person that will speak with them late at night if they need extra help, need to have a mentor, a guide, just a friend. I'm there to try to help them out and help them reach their technical goals.
Mm. Do you feel comfortable sharing? Like, how is the perception of you as a Black man and in cyber in particular? Like you said, there's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of Black people in cyber. So what are some things you experience, or what do you what are some I don't know stereotypes, or just curious?
Um, I would say that, and that's one of the things we're talking about earlier, right? People being upset that I may be a successful entrepreneur and have my own 9 to 5 job, right? They can't fathom that someone that looks like me can actually do that,
Mm,
right? Or I'll get shockers that I'm in cybersecurity and I'm doing so well. Like, how can you do that? That can't be possible, right?
mm,
They're putting their own insecurities on me, right? Because they don't think they can do it themselves. So they assume no one else can. And I've seen that a lot, right? People will assume that I don't speak well, or I can't be put in front of a client sometimes. Um, so just stuff like that, like little
mm.
microaggressions that build up over time.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate that's where we are as society, but it is a very real real challenge, I can imagine. So what are I guess what are some things that you wish were different, or what are some things you like you said you like, how are you advocating for people, Black people in tech in general? Education is one way, but what are some other things you would like to do to increase awareness about these things?
I would say building more safe places for us so we can actually flourish in these fields, right? Which is why I'm a part of Blacks in Cybersecurity as well, to try to help out with that. And then just trying to get people promoted inside those positions of leadership, so they're able to actually start to get people that look like us in those positions, right? Because people like to hire people that are similar towards them or look like them or come from the same background as them.
Mm,
And since for historical reasons we've been denied those opportunities, right? Someone may hire someone that may look more like them, and we get excluded from those opportunities. So trying to bridge that gap.
mm. And is it difficult to get into cyber? Like, with that, like, do you need to have a bachelor's in it? Is it a certificate? Like, what does that look like if somebody wants to or change into this part of IT?
I would say it is hard to get inside cyber, especially for entry level positions. That is very competitive. There's not a lot of them. The cybersecurity in of itself isn't really entry level for a lot of people. So it can be kind of difficult for some people to do that and bridge that, or not bridge that gap, but break that barrier, should I say? Um, I realistically speaking, from like a knowledge perspective, you don't need to go to college to learn cybersecurity. Like, I learned more in my internships than I did with my degree program for cybersecurity. Um, a lot of firms will want you to have that checkbox off, right, of that degree.
Right.
So I tell people, if you already have a degree, you want to transition to cybersecurity, then there's no need for you to spend another $40,000, right, to go back to college for that. Just take some type of training program with someone that you trust, do your research, and then go from there. If you don't have a degree at all, then I might suggest towards you to get a degree, right? So you have to have that checkbox. There's like other certifications you can take as well to try to help you stand out. But I would say getting hands-on, doing lab, networking are some of the biggest things you can do. Volunteering, try to build out your portfolio. Some pretty cool things you can do.
But I'm curious because like I get it that it's competitive because especially depending on which, like especially if you're doing like government work, there's like even further checklists that one needs to meet to like even get into like government contracting for that type of stuff. But I'm just curious, because there's it's like all you ever hear, right, is like the statistics I was talking about earlier is like there's going to be X number of people that are, you know, needed to fill these roles and we don't have this talent and etc. So I'm curious of why is it still so competitive? Although, do you know what I'm saying? Like, or like, shouldn't there be better education out there to fix this challenge that we're heading towards and we have right now, and the gap between talent coming into cybersecurity and jobs available?
Honestly, I don't think there's a talent gap. I think there's enough people to fill the spots. Companies just don't want to take a chance on people, right? Because these people may not have the specific tech stack they want for their firms. Could either use archaic systems, and they're not willing to wait the 3 months for them to get up to speed to actually do their job, right? They're more, I guess, inclined to let something happen towards their systems or them get behind and the process doesn't work, which will cost them more money in the long run, but people don't think like that. So I've met a lot of people that can do a lot of what I do, right, with just a little bit of training. But firms want them to have 5 years of experience, even though the job doesn't really require that, and they'll pay them pennies on the dollar, right? Which makes it hard on people. So people that are at my level or higher will be overworked and they'll get burned out and they'll leave the field, and we'll have that gap get bigger and bigger to actually fix the issue. I think the hiring process, especially for cybersecurity, is kind of broken for how it's structured. I think that needs to be fixed.
It sounds like it. Yeah, I mean, I work in talent development. I do talent acquisition in tech, and I don't work with. I work with some cybersecurity roles, but it's I have it kind of recruiters that know much more about it than I do in that sense. But and we do struggle to find, but that's because we always have such specifications because it's government contracts, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, I never realized it was that bad. Like because what's out there, what's talked about in the talent development world, and then what candidates like yourself experience seems like there's a complete you know, two different sides to it. So that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, I will definitely say there is like misunderstanding about how many jobs there actually are for cybersecurity. I really do believe that companies actually put the investment to actually train and retain talent properly. A lot of these issues would be fixed. Because I know it's way more expensive to actually like try to rehire somebody, right? Than just to give them a chance or just keep somebody or train them up. So that's just my perspective about it.
Yeah, no, I listen, it's music to my ears. That's exactly what I preach and what I do for companies is I develop like young talent programs and I make sure people stay and develop and grow into management skills. So it's music to my ears because I'm like, I believe in it so much. And I do, maybe because I talk to a lot of candidates and like, that's what people want. Like, that's how you maintain talent and you help grow. And like I always say, like, if you know, companies, it's like they don't want to invest because now this whole thing is like Gen Zs, they just gonna leave in like a year, so why would I invest in them? It's like, yeah, but you're investing in them that maybe they will leave in a year, but maybe they'll leave in 2 or 3 years because they've had such a great experience and because they're progressing and growing. But the point of you as a leader in an organization or talent development team is to provide the best possible experience and to make sure people are high performers, to support them. And if they leave, that's okay, it's just what it is. But the chances that they might stay longer than otherwise if there was no development. And if they leave, at least they would have had such a great experience, and they are your advocates in the market. They are your ambassadors for the company, you know. And I think companies have very short-sighted vision when it comes to talent. So I completely agree with you there.
Yeah, I would definitely say firms have an issue with that. It's kind of weird, right? They're like, well, if you train them, they might leave. I'm like, well, if you don't train them, and they stay. You have someone that's unqualified in your spot, right? Which doesn't make any sense.
It's exactly. And I mean, listen, and like the man, I have no patience, no empathy for managers that are like afraid that people are going to take their jobs. Like I forget who said it, but it's like, that should be your expectation, not just somebody to take your job, but somebody to be good enough to where they can take your job, because then you will move, and that, that's how an organization grows, is that you train people below you to end up taking your work. That's the point of a good people manager and a leader. And when people start saying, when people start afraid of investing or afraid of spending money in training, that just comes out of fear and honestly lack of awareness and lack of understanding of human development, period. That's really what it comes down to. And sadly, a lot of HR and talent development teams out there are either understaffed, overworked, or just simply don't have the skill set to recognize that challenge and close the gap. So instead, what they do is they just tick boxes and that just spend a lot of money, but no impact happens. So
yeah, they'll have job requirements. So after technology stack, I'm like, you're asking for 10 years of experience in it, but it's been a market for like 2 years. How's that possible? I can't do that.
It didn't exist. Right? Like they're like, that thing didn't exist before. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. But so what are your, I guess, hopes with your business, for example, like and your career? Like, let's start with that. Like with your career, like where do you see yourself growing in this field?
So from like my business perspective, the goal for ECA, or Ellington Cyber Academy, which is a firm that I own, the goal for us is to become like a replacement program for master's degree in cybersecurity. Because I think, from my experience, it's very, very expensive to get the master's degree in cybersecurity. It can be upwards like $40,000 in some cases, depending on what university you go to. And the way colleges work is they have to get everything approved by the board, right, and their advisor before they actually implement a new curriculum. That can take 3 to 4 years, and by that time, the threat landscape has completely changed, right, and how technologies work. So you're learning outdated technologies, right? In a lot of cases, the professors you work with won't actually have any experience in the field, right? They'll just be theoretical professors who have worked in university their entire careers. So how can you tell me how to respond towards a threat or manage a SOC if you never worked in a SOC environment yourself, right? It doesn't make any sense. So what we aim to do is provide a much more hands-on, much more realistic, much more practitioner-led, high-quality program for students and for professionals, so they're able to learn those in-demand skill sets, specifically as it went towards SIEM and SOAR.
How long do your programs run usually?
So our Cyber Boost Career Program, which is our flagship program, that's about 6 months long. So you learn SIEM, SOAR, you learn some cloud security concepts as well. And that one, we have this class every Wednesday night. We give you self-paced modules to do. You're not in class, so you're able to actually stay up to date with everything. And the actual class times will give you the capstone assignments, or there'll be the actual demos we'll do for our students.
And as this field evolves in general, like from an education perspective, from providers like yourself, and just in general as an industry, how do you see it changing or evolving in the next couple of years, or maybe a year? I just feel like it changes so fast. Like, what are some things you foresee are going to come sooner than later?
I would say, so a couple of my predictions. The first one would be firms are probably going to start to spend, or I guess my hope would be firms will start to spend more money and time in investing in their actual current resources that they have to try to better retain them as the labor market gets more tight. The second thing is, I would say I'm hoping that there'll be more government intervention with making firms have better security policies. So attacks like MGM Graham don't happen again, from my perspective.
What happened to MGM Graham? Should I know this? Now I feel left out. I feel like I don't know what happened.
So MGM Graham, the hotel chain, right? They own Bellagio, Valencia. So all their international hotels and domestic hotels were shut down basically by a cyber attack. So one of their employees, I believe, got a phishing attempt, which means phone phishing basically, and their credentials got compromised. So the attackers were able to get access inside the network, and they're able to shut down a lot of the slot machines, their online site, and a lot of the rooms inside of the hotels. So people weren't able to actually go back inside their rooms. They weren't able to play the slots inside the casinos, and they can't book online. So they've hired an external firm, and the FBI is helping them out as well to try to figure out what's going on.
Is this recent?
Yes, this was 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. I didn't even hear about it. I was like, how did I miss this news? Oh wow, that's crazy. That's scary though. Like that's what scares me about just the internet in general. Like just it's like you're so easily compromised these days, and like everything is online. Do you know what I mean? So like it's crazy. Okay, that's one prediction. What's another one before I go into the rabbit hole of my own stuff?
I think the first one was
Investing in resources.
yeah,
Yeah.
the staffing, and then I'm hoping that there'll be more government intervention for having proper policies in place. So
Mm,
things like this won't happen again. Because for that to happen, multiple layers of security would have to fail inside of their firm. And I think MGM Grants is like a $36 billion company,
yeah.
so they don't have my perspective an excuse not for that to happen.
Yeah. So it's like basically like a virus. The cyber attack like sends like a virus and then it just
I'm
shuts everything down.
I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% sure. I know that I just know the credentials were taken and
Mm,
they're able to get access inside the systems.
yeah. So do you know, like, I mean, just to piggyback off of that, do you know why? Like, are they then asking for like money and ransom, or like what's the aim of try to get data? Like, what is it? Like
It could be all
any
of the above. It could be data infiltration, asking for ransom, for money, or just to cause damage,
hmm
or all of the above.
yeah, just a challenge, some techie somewhere sitting there, like, let me see if I can do this.
No, normally for attacks like this, normally APT groups are advanced persistent threats, but normally like organized crime or groups of
Mm.
people that do this for their job, right? They get paid millions of dollars to do it. Normally it's like organized crime or something like that, or government or state sponsored. So think of North Korea, China, Russia.
Interesting. Never thought about it. I mean, like you hear about it, but you never like think about it. And yeah, I didn't hear anything. I'm gonna look it up after this conversation, though. How do you balance the different things that you do? Like, how do you manage all the between full-time work and then your own thing?
I would say, it's a good question. People always ask me this. Like, I can't. You actually sleep? I'm like, I do. I would say one of the things I do to try to relax is have box and kickbox. So that's a very
Nice.
great stress reliever for me. I do that probably 5 times a week. I do around 7, 8 classes, I believe, per week. That I read, I also cook, and then I watch anime as well.
Nice. So you have so you have joy and balance and sports and things that to relieve stress. That's awesome. You found a nice little balance.
Yeah, some days it's hard, but I get through it.
Yeah, yeah, that's sounds like it. I mean, you're still doing it and you're enjoying it, and I'm sure you're going to continue to do it. So, what are some, I guess, what's are there some things that you wish you would have known before you got into cyber? Like, is there anything that people that are going into cyber that there's like a misconception or a myth, or I don't know, something else that can recommend to younger generations coming in? Not, I mean,
Um,
you're young yourself, but those coming in behind you.
I would probably say the myth that getting into cybersecurity is easy. You can do it in a couple months. That's normally not the case. Some people may take 6 months, some people may take a year, some people may take 5, right? It all
Mm,
just depends. So having that long-term outlook is very important. 'Cause it can be grueling, right? You be crawling with the mud, right? So it's hard to see like the sunshine, basically. So keep that long-term goal, a long-term mindset, and look at it from like a bird's eye view. I think is very important. I wish I did that a little bit earlier. Would have saved me a lot of stress and anxiety. Um, it was because I was young, right? I didn't have the best job. I didn't have a lot of money, so I wanted to get towards that cybersecurity job as quickly as possible, right? So like working in Publix, people cursing me over sandwiches. I'm like, why am I here, right? I'm
yeah.
I'm better than this. So just looking at it from like a long-term view is very important. Because it was definitely worth it, right? I have
Yeah,
an amazing life. I wouldn't change anything, right? But just having that in the back of my mind, it's one of the big things I wish I would have knew earlier.
yeah. And what are you most excited about for the next year, 2 years of your career?
Um, I would say probably growing the business, honestly. Um, like do more partnerships, doing more events, meeting more people, get more students to join, help more people out. Those are things that really excite me.
Hmm.
There's a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline for us. I'm just excited to get out towards the world and help more people out.
Nice. I'm excited to see what you're going to come up with as well, or continue to evolve your work. Where can people get in touch with you if they want to just find out about the programs that you're doing, or just talk to you as a fellow IT person?
I would say get in contact with us, primarily LinkedIn,
Mhm.
um, then our site as well, which is on LinkedIn as well.
And I'll make sure to include that all in the show notes also. The last question I typically ask my guest is, what is one question you wish people would ask themselves more often?
That's a good question. I would probably say, really be honest with yourself and ask yourself, why do you want to be inside cybersecurity, and what do you want to do inside cybersecurity? Because I ask people the question often, and they give me like a very surface level answer. And I tell them you can do a lot of jobs to get that end result, but why do you want to be inside cybersecurity? Because again, it is very hard to get inside this field.
Yeah.
If you don't have the proper motivations for it, you won't last here. So make sure you're very honest with yourself and you truly know why you want to be inside this field.
I like that. I like that. That's a great question. Very practical. And for any field, in fact, right? Just why do you want to do this? Like, what is the motivation to do this? Because you're right, there's a lot of ways to make money,
Yeah.
and spend time on and stuff on other areas. So why that? I love that.
When people tell me money, I'm like, there's a lot of jobs you can get money in other than cybersecurity, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And from what you're saying, like with it takes time to get to that money, first of all. And it's a lot of, you know what I mean? It is competitive from what it sounds like, and a lot of time to develop yourself and all of that. So it takes some patience as well. So yeah, you have to have patience if you really want to stay in cyber, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's a big thing lacking inside this field for sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much. I know now more about cybersecurity than I did about 35 minutes ago. So thank you for that.
Of course.
And I look forward to seeing how your academy or your work kind of evolves, and you might be replacing a master's degree soon. I wouldn't be surprised, actually. It sounds much more exciting to go to a 6-month program with somebody who knows what they're doing than going to a 4-year or a 2-year or even a year program and spending thousands of dollars. So.
Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, we'll have some pretty cool stuff coming down the pipeline. So excited to share it with everybody.
Sounds good. I'll have you back on to talk about that.
Awesome.